Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Berea City Council meeting, Tuesday, August 6, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please let the record reflect that a quorum is present. This time, I'll call on Katie Startzman to lead us in the invocation, followed by Jim Davis to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Katie.
Invite everybody to stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
By Jim Davis. Is there a second? By Cora Jane Wilson. Any discussion on the agenda, on the motion? Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. The motion carries and the agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our July 16th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve? By Katie Startzman and a second by Steve Cottle. Any discussion, changes, or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from July 16th, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, please say no. Motion carries, and the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is our year-end review and ideas for future partnership. I'm happy to welcome back Dr. Cheryl Nixon, president of Berea College, who has just not too long ago finished her one-year anniversary here. Dr. Nixon, we're happy that you're here to share with us. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just thrilled to be here. As you just heard, I've just wrapped up my first year, and it felt like it was a good time to come in and visit and just again express how fantastic it is to be here at Berea, how much I'm loving being part of this community, and give you a little update on what's happening at Berea College. I also took the idea from the mayor of let's emphasize the future a little bit too and think about some possible future partnerships together. So let me just again say, tonight I just wanted to really emphasize what a vibrant town we are and how proud I am to be part of it through Berea College. I'm extremely excited to look ahead and work with you to create a stronger and more connected partnership. That's the key part to building a stronger and more connected community that will serve us all so well. So I want to again thank you for welcoming me to be here. Mayor Fraley has come to many Berea events over the past year. Seems like every event I have, I'm seeing him there speak side by side with me. So thank you for being such a partner and representing Berea to the Berea campus. I want to say thank you to everyone here for always supporting our faculty and staff that call Berea home as part of their either workplace, or many of them live here in the community too. And of course, want to make sure I say thank you for supporting our students. Our students are going to be returning in about 2 weeks, so get ready. All of a sudden, we'll be back full up with a lot of new students getting to know Berea and getting to explore. Many of them new. We have about 400 brand new students, so they will be very excited to learn more about Berea and get to know the town. I thought I would give you just a moment on my past year and then talk a lot about possible future. So my first year, I very much focused on the Berea campus. I held what I called a listening tour, where I went and just made sure I met with all faculty, staff, and students and gathered ideas from them. In the spring, I shifted that to a strategic plan. We're still working through finalizing that strategic plan now, and drafts of that will be up on our website this upcoming fall. So you'll be able to get an in-depth view of what we're working on if you want to by going to that strategic planning webpage. Some of our topics were very baseline, like you must expect sort of a typical business sort of thinking. We talk about enrollment. Our enrollment had dipped a bit with COVID, but now it's rising back up again, so we're very happy about our enrollment. Just making sure that we're financially secure, making sure our finances are strong, and looking at our faculty and staff and benchmarking them against other Kentucky colleges for their workload and their salaries. So we did that type of thing as part of our strategic planning. but mostly we focused on our student experience. And you'll see I'm going to mention a bit of it now and then circle back to it as some ways we can partner. So we are looking at really strengthening our student internships. So you'll hear me mention that. We're looking at really strengthening the student experience by getting outdoors and taking advantage of our gorgeous natural landscape. I like to joke even with them, I need to get them off of their screens a little bit, get off of their phones. And Berea is the most beautiful place on the planet to do that. All they have to do is walk outdoor and be in an outdoor learning campus. And we are, of course, looking at some new academic majors and minors. What's the workplace of the future going to look like? We've been sort of shaken up a bit with things like artificial intelligence. What's going to be happening to the future? What are our students going to inherit? How do we need to be inventing new computer science programs to keep pace with that, for example? So this upcoming year, I'm hoping that I can partner with you, look with you beyond just focusing internally looking at the campus, but partner with you to build some strategic partnerships. I thought I would mention some current things that we've worked on and say those are stepping stones and launching pads to possible big ideas for the future. So the first one I want to emphasize is that idea of our beautiful natural landscape outdoors, the beautiful city we call home. We already share a lot of work in that space. I was just talking with the mayor that we share our Boone Trace Trail, for example. We share the trails in Brushy Fork that we both maintain. There's shared park areas in town, such as where the city pool is. But as a future big idea, I want to emphasize our Forestry Outreach Center and an idea that we're bubbling up right now to put some pickleball courts out at our Forestry Outreach Center. We have some unused space to open up pickleball for the town. And another big idea for the future is I know that there has been past conversation about our Indian Fort Theater and possibly be rebuilding that amphitheater. So possible future horizon might be to look at that again. I wouldn't mind investigating that with all of you. A second idea that we, again, have underway, but let's strengthen it and build a stepping stone towards a bigger idea, is, as I mentioned, internships. Our students, we're moving to the place where we would like to require all of our students to do an internship. Most of them do one now, and we're verging on saying, let's make it a requirement. I would love to create partnerships with local businesses and nonprofits where we can place some of our students as interns. We have a Center for Internships and Career Development. So the center's right there. I can easily task those staff with working on how to build partnerships with all of you. So I think that's something I can get started by talking more to the mayor and then come back and give you an update on some ideas we have. I would like to take it into an even bigger future idea, and many towns have things they call like an incubator space or an economic development space. So I would love to think of Berea as being a partner and maybe hosting an incubator space where our local economy can be strengthened by providing some space for new development plans, like new startups or new nonprofits that need support as they get underway. Of course, tourism, you'll hear me mention that as a last point. Maybe tourism promotion, even think of a little incubator space where our students could work side by side. We could provide some space and resources for that. Let them kind of incubate some new ideas for town. Third, educational mission. We do lots of service learning courses. We're a college. We're all about education and getting our students out into the community and learning as they do so. So lots of service learning. I think you all know our CELTS program, for example, that does tutoring in the area. That's a perfect example of a local program where we're trying to do outreach into the schools. I would love to build on that and get ideas from you of how can I take Berea's educational mission and move it into serving the town better, whether through service learning or volunteer programs. As I kept saying, we've got current work underway with something like our CELTS program, but what's that stepping stone or that launching pad to a bigger idea? I'm very interested in working with our high schools. I know that we once had our historic high school pipeline from Berea community into Berea. So I'm very interested in re-examining how to get both of our high schools to have a purposeful partnership and pipeline into Berea. So that would be a very big future idea that is really a return to the past, but I would love to look at that and investigate that with the town's support. We could do lots of other things along those lines, dual enrollment coursework. We already have some of those courses on the books where high school students can take classes at Berea for college credit that they could transfer anywhere, especially within Kentucky. Summer college prep course, for example, to prepare students to go to any college, not just Berea. So those are just a couple of quick ideas where I would love to encourage stronger connections between our school system and Berea, especially focusing on local high school students and helping them to see that college can be in their future, because that's Berea's mission for, I would say, the entire nation, is to get students to find a place in college. So I think I could do a better job of doing that right in our backyard. And then the last thing I'll mention, again, something we're already working on, but let's think of future big steps forward, is tourism. I know that tourism is a big emphasis for the council at this point. I would love to continue to think of some joint community efforts and events. There's all sorts of ways we're showing off our beautiful city and college through festivals and fairs and cultural events. Spoon Bread Festival, the Christmas Parade, those are already red letter days on my calendar. Brings the college and town members together. What else can we build? What else would you like me to help support? So I'd love to hear from the council about any fairs or festivals, holiday celebrations that I could help bolster with some support and make sure that Berea is part of those annual traditions. So again, a stepping stone or kind of a bridge into a future big idea. As we continue to think about that, I would love to feel that we are really supporting our development as an arts center. You heard me mention earlier just the idea of Indian Fort Theater, but maybe there's some way that we could partner on a joint venture around a performing arts center, a craft demonstration center, a musical venue, anything like that in the arts area. Since Berea is so well known for craft, I'd be really interested in thinking about how, again, as that big future dream, what could we build together in that space? So these are just a few ideas, but you can see we already are doing a lot together that's groundwork for big future moves. By working together, I really want to create a community that's vibrant and supportive and full of opportunities, not just for my students, but for every single resident of Berea. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and exploring how we can partner, how we can take these current ideas and bridge them into some future big ideas. So thank you again for giving me a few moments just to reintroduce myself and to say that we'll build a really bright future together. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nixon. You okay with a few questions?
Sure.
Ronnie?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Good. I will work and make sure I'll learn what our plans are for the students coming back and make sure that we've got some good crosswalk kind of mechanisms in place. In terms of timing, and then we have our campus safety ushering students across so that the timing is right so we don't get such huge backups. I will tell you that one thing I'm really seriously thinking about is should we have some sort of a tunnel under Chestnut Street? Building a bridge would be almost impossible because it would have to be tall enough for a truck to get under, right? And to do that would take up an enormous amount of space. But I think it's time for us to at least see how much something like that would cost. So, because it's a concern of mine for safety reasons. So, in the meantime, though, we'll get some good I'm going to write down some good crosswalk, ushering.
Other questions or comments for Dr. Nixon? Jim?
Thank you for coming, Dr. Nixon. I think it's exciting news about Indian Fort Theater.
Yeah.
It's such a waste of a venue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's in decay, but when you look at it, it's still, the structure is strong. It's still there. It would need work,
Right.
but I think that we should at least start investigating it. And every big idea starts with some small steps. So I think we could at least see what we're looking at in terms of repair and cost and start to
Repair
think
and
of that.
costs, and there may be some private entity that would like to
Yeah,
co-sponsor,
right.
you know, and put on productions out there, whatever, big
I
concerts or
agree.
whatever. I think it's great. Be good for the economy.
Yeah, yeah.
I liked your comment about local students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it's been one of the rifts between the community and the college,
right.
is when the college cut off
Yeah,
access of local students.
right.
And I think that's great. One other question, I'll leave you alone.
Yeah, that's good.
What percentage of your students are foreign?
So about 7% of our students, 7, maybe a little more than 7, 8 maximum. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I think we're a bit unique compared to many other colleges where they admit international foreign students primarily because international students will often bring money and will pay. But I want people just to be reassured that Berea, we make sure that every single student is coming from the same economic background, that our international students also have to come from families and countries of need. So they're coming in with the same sort of financial need, and we make them meet our same criteria as our national students, so that we're trying to get an experience that's true to our values, where we say we're a community where we're all alike. And so I think that's sort of an important. So we bring students in from places like Afghanistan or from some of the African nations that are experiencing poverty or difficulty, political difficulty. We try to make sure we're serving that nationally and internationally. So.
Other questions or comments? Cora Jane, and we'll come to Steve.
I just want to say thank you for Indian Fort Theater. Considering that's great. I can remember I was younger, believe it or not, but Paul Green,
Yeah.
the theater, I think that was his name, Paul Green, is that correct? But the biggest thing is thank you for saying you want to go back and work with their school.
Right.
It has caused a big division
Right.
in our town, and I think that would help bridge it for sure. As a former student at Berea community, and when they built the other school, and it made a hardship kind of in the town. But thank you for going back and revisiting that, and hopefully that will work out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cora Jane. Steve?
The first thing, President Nixon, I was going to say is thank you for continuing this tradition. Sometimes we forget that when we've done things for a few years that it's always been so. And it hasn't been that long since the mayor asked the president of the college to come, and Dr. Ruloff was nice enough to do that, and thank you for continuing that. And I am very encouraged by all of the plans that you just went through, because they're very Berea-centric, and that's, I mean that inclusive on purpose, because the town that we live in wouldn't be the city that it is without the contribution that the college has had over the years. And I think for the last several decades, some of us have forgotten that at times on both sides of the street. And it is really exciting to hear you talk about the amphitheater, to talk about ways that students can be participating in our local economy, and so that they can be doing things to do internships, because it's one of the greatest resources that we have for talent in our city to continue to go back into the economy. And also, as a student, or as a child of a townie, I'm very excited about the idea of being able to look at that again. And I know that may be a long road, but that's something that is very exciting for the students of our county. And I'm really, really excited about all the things that you laid out, and I really appreciate the perspective that you brought to the college and to our city. And also, congratulations on your new CFO. I'm still a little bit salty about it, but
We're very lucky. No, I just would comment back and say, like, that's why I wanted to make sure I came in with a list that was does have big ideas, but again, we've done it. It's ironic. If we've done it in the past, that's proof that we can do it in the future. And sometimes, again, there's good ideas that Berea College might have backed away from or needs to revisit. So I think that's where I wanted to make sure I said, I think that there's a lot in our past that we've already shared that brought us tightly together. And I'm very interested in making sure that we at least reinvestigate and then choose what out of that is really possible. So,
Katie?
I just want to comment as well and say that the tone of your presentation just feels so encouraging and hopeful, and everybody's picking out their favorite things that you are proposing. And I'm particularly excited about the economic development and incubator idea. I think that's something that the college could really be a really strong leader in to benefit the college and the community, and the internship as well, kind of tying into that. Those pieces feel like a really smart way to support folks who are looking to start businesses and students who could be looking to start businesses. It's very exciting, and all just feels very hopeful. So thank you for sharing.
oh, good, thank you. And again, I think post-COVID, where students were disrupted, separated on screen, they want more in-person, face-to-face, whether it's, again, at something like the amphitheater or in an incubator where they're doing more hands-on learning. So I would love to make sure that I'm strengthening the sense that our students are a resource for the city. And I think that we can really do that we can say we've got a lot of young talent. It might need a little shaping and molding, but we've got a lot of young energy at least. So with the right matches, I think we could do a lot there and think about an incubator type space.
Other questions or comments for Dr. Nixon? Dr. Nixon, thank you, first of all, for your presentation, but also for entertaining the questions and comments. We're very happy to have you here with us, and good luck on the new school year as it starts in 2 weeks. I know you're busy preparing now.
Yeah.
But the idea is, I'll just second everything everybody said. It's encouraging to hear all those things that we can do together and building on the past and looking forward to the future. So I had a couple of ideas as I was listening to you talk that I wrote down, so I'll be in touch. But
You'll be emailing me.
the first one, you'll be interested to know that we're actually going to do boots on the ground to look at the potential pickleball location. And I've had, there's all kinds of priorities, but that's one we've heard from a lot from citizens, and people want to do that, and to be able to collaborate on something like that is an example of how we can work together for the betterment of all, the entire community. So thanks again. Appreciate you coming. We'll have you back.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
you. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 07-2024, financial incentives, and I'll recognize City Attorney Jerry Gilbert. Sorry, Jerry.
Resolution number 07-2024 renews a prior resolution, so I will summarize it by caption. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Berea, Kentucky, approving the granting of local incentives to Hitachi Americas, Inc., and any subsequent assignees or approved affiliates thereof pursuant to Kentucky law.
Is there a motion to approve and adopt resolution number 07-2024?
So moved.
Jim Davis, second by Steve Cottle. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to approve and adopt resolution number 07-2024, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries, and resolution number 07-2024 is approved. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 15-2024, Land Management and Development Ordinance, LMDO, revision, and this is the second reading. Mr. Gilbert.
I'll summarize the second reading of ordinance number 15-2024 by caption. An ordinance of the City of Berea, Kentucky, providing that the Land Management and Development Ordinance of the City of Berea, Kentucky, ordinance number 18-2004, as amended, be amended by amending certain sections and deleting certain sections of the Comprehensive Development Plan ordinance.
Is there a motion to approve and adopt ordinance number 15-2024? Mr. Little, is there a second?
Second.
Steve Cottle, is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
The first thing I'm gonna do, my motion is a little bit long, and I want to pass out the motions where everybody can follow me on it. Pass them on down through there and hand them around that way. Here's an extra. Let's see, that's your, everybody got one. Just here.
I got one, I'm good. good?
Everybody good? And I
Need one more down here.
got a problem. Everybody good?
You have the floor, Jerry. Go right ahead, sir.
I want to make a motion to amend the Land Management Development Ordinance, Section 406.6, allowable land uses in Article 6, the definition, to change the requirements for a travel center from a minimum size of 15 acres to a minimum size of 5 acres, and add language that parking for over 6 hours and parking in operated vehicles of any kind in the travel center is prohibited. Also, I want to add this to it here, and add an allowable land use of a truck service center in section 406.6 as a conditional permitted in B4, I1, and I2 zones on parcels of land with a minimum lot size of 15 acres. Language shall be added that parking over 12 hours and parking off inoperable vehicles of any kind are prohibited at the truck service center. And the penalties, I'm gonna read the penalties, but these are standard, but I still wanna read them. Penalties for violations of any of these regulations will result in a fine in accordance with the current adopted schedule of $100 for the first offense, $300 for the second offense, and $500 for the third. And it assesses the property owner. It is not the truck or nothing. Never who owns the property who will get the fines if it's violated. And I'm gonna say one more thing. This is, the reason I'm
Jerry, if you don't mind, let me get a second, and then we'll go into discussion. I see a second by Steve Cottle. At this point, we got a motion to amend, and we have a second. Jerry, you have the floor on discussion. Go right ahead.
okay. I don't have to read my motion again, do I?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir, you can
I
make
just
your
want to add
statement.
a
Your
footnote
comments.
to it, is why that I'm asking for this motion to amend. We've got an industrial park sitting here in Bria, and it is operated basically all trucks, all shipping and delivery, and most, probably 90-some% of it is done by trucks. Everything we do here in this town is trucked in or out. And we don't have a place for a truck to pull over and spend 2 or 3 hours, because they're mandated is so much time, and you'll see them around on the intersections or something parked. And like I say, we've got a truck park, a industrial park, and we depend 100% on trucks. And, you know, say if they did put a truck service center in, it's not like the old truck center. 20 years down the road, it was different, but now you've got to go have your development plan, you've got different rules and regulations, and it would be a pretty good thing it's just a shame that we've got a industrial park here and we don't allow a place for trucks to fuel and up. And that's all I've got to say. So I just appreciate y'all listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And we do have a motion to amend and a second on the floor, and we're in the discussion phase. Any more discussion on the motion to amend as stated?
I just have a question.
Katie, go right ahead.
So, and we talked about this at the work session last time. So Jerry, do you think that the travel center is not gonna meet the need enough? Like, there's a distinction between a regular travel center and a truck service center.
A big distinction, you know.
You feel like that the only thing that will meet the need of the tractor trailers is a truck service center? You don't think that a travel center would meet that need?
A real truck stop, these tractors and trailers just takes up so much room. A travel center would be, it would be for something, it wouldn't be for tractors and trailers, I don't think. It would be,
I don't want to speak for you.
Go ahead.
But I think this is sort of along that same conversation last time of reducing down the acreage required for a quote travel center, so that it doesn't have to be quite as much. And if someone were to want to actually put in an actual service center, then you would then they would be limited to basically those two locations that we talked about in the work session, because of the idea that if we were gonna reduce that, then we would allow for both categories in the last conversation that we had there. So that the idea being that we want to make sure that, and again, I'm not trying to speak for you.
No,
This-
no, I
this is going
appreciate
for
it.
from the conversation of last time. If we're going to allow for a smaller lot travel center, then it most likely will not be able to accommodate any sort of tractor trailer level parking. And by reducing that requirement, if someone is trying to only target the tractor trailer traffic that we have coming to the community, increasing that up to that 15 acres, and I think what's important is those requirements of only being there 12 hours, not keeping vehicles that are inoperable on the site, having it be more like what you would see at Pilot or things like that. So I think that was because I had talked to Jerry about this too, and I think that was maybe some of the intent of reducing down that requirement so that you could have a really nice travel center that locates on a few specific places in town. And then if somebody does want to accommodate the truck, and right now what we're having proposed has no accommodations for a service center, and I think there's a general thought that we do need one, and it really puts it where it should be, and because there's literally two places that it could go, which you knew that from the last meeting.
Yeah, so that was one thing I wanted to like cover in the meeting just publicly, and you just mentioned that, Steve, but Jerry, maybe you could also speak to in a second, like how many lots in Berea would actually be able to have a truck service center that was 15 acres. That's my first thing. And then second of all, I guess I was confused with this travel center because it's adding language about parking for over 6 hours. So I assumed that also referred to tractor trailers. Are you just referring to people in their RV in that ordinance?
That's what I would assume, right? It's anyone.
Okay.
And you
I
can't leave an
misunderstood.
inoperable vehicle there in the same.
No, not inoperable, but the 6
Right.
hours, because last, at this work session, we were talking so much about tractor trailers.
Right.
The amount of time they could park, where they could park. So travel center, definitely no tractor trailers. Anyone who parks there can park there for 6 hours or less.
Again, I don't want to speak for Jerry,
Go
but
ahead.
I would not, I don't want to say definitely no tractor trailers, because there might be someone who can build a travel center that's on 5 acres that can accommodate the fueling center. You see that, a good example of that is there's a BP on exit 93, I think, that has put a fueling station in the back, but it is not a quote service center. Essentially, all they can
Gotcha.
do is fuel up, get food, and move on. And they may take that 6 hour break to meet those requirements, but it doesn't allow for parking. They're typically not, they don't have showers, they don't have
Right.
places like that. So
So according to like our definition of travel center, it does not inherently exclude a tractor trailer though, correct? Okay.
And
And then Jerry, can you speak to the spaces in town where we could have these? Because there's only a few
As-
plots of land, right?
you would have to have a full truck center, service center. It needs to be on exchange, okay? Well, currently, we've just got two places. We've got 17 acres on 21, and then on 76 out there on 76 Boulevard, where the Lowe's store was gonna go that time. There's 17 acres there. And then on 77, the Carpenter Farm are on the corners, you turn into Mayday. It's got a, that would be a good place for one right there. It'd be handy to the industrial park. And those are basically the two locations. And we put 15 acres, or I thought 15 acres, that would give you room to not be crowded, and it would, but I just think that's the two places, okay?
I have a question.
Corjay?
The place you're talking about on 21, where would that exactly be located? Is that on North Dogwood?
No, it could not be on no. It wouldn't be on South Dogwood either. You would come in between the hotel there on the corner and.
The Don Combs property?
Yes, they're right away.
So it would-
Right off 21.
It would be though visible from South Dogwood.
No, I don't, it would probably, they'd have to, I would think that the development plan would make them berm it.
I
You've
mean,
got
there's
plenty-
houses back behind it, so that's how, there's a street with residential houses behind that area, is
but-
why I asked.
but
I
that-
wouldn't want it in my back door, sorry.
But that street, that 17 acres, you've got enough room. It runs right up and down the interstate, and you've got enough room to berm it and not cause anybody no problem. I think you have, you know.
I've rode horses on it, I know.
All right, we do have a motion to amend and a second. We're still in the discussion phase. Additional discussion on the motion to amend. Additional discussion on the motion to amend. Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote on the motion to amend. All in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries, and we are now back to the original motion to approve and adopt ordinance number 15-2024 as amended. We do have a motion and a second. We'll open that up for discussion. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? All right, this will require a roll call vote, and I'll begin with Mr. Terrell. Ms. Wilson? Mr. Cottle?
Aye.
Mr. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Startzman?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Motion carries, and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance number 15-2024 is approved and adopted as amended. Thank you all. That was good discussion. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 16-2024, Menalus Road zone change classifications, and there are 4. This is the second reading. Mr. Gilbert.
I'll summarize ordinance number 16-2024 as a second reading. The full text of the first reading was read. This is an ordinance of the City of Berea, Kentucky, changing the zoning classification of property owned by KJC Properties, LLC, described herein and referred to as 2347, 2351, 2357 Menalus Road from R1 to R1A, a portion of parcel D from I2 to R1A, and a portion of parcel ID to I2 to B2. This is a zone change recommendation from the Planning Commission. The council has 3 options with respect to zone change recommendations. Number 1, you may conduct your own hearing and make your independent findings. Number 2, you may review the application and record before the Planning Commission, including the video of the hearing, and make independent findings. Or the council may adopt the findings and recommendations of the Planning Commission outright without further proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Is there a motion on ordinance number 16-2024?
So moved.
Is your motion to adopt the Planning Commission recommendation?
Yes.
To approve the zone change? So there's a motion by Steve Cottle and a second by Jerry Little. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve and approve ordinance number 16-2024 and accept the findings of the Planning Commission? Any discussion? Are you ready for the question? All right, we'll go in reverse order this time, and I'll begin with Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Ms. Startzman?
Aye.
Mr. Little? Mr. Cottle?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Terrell. Motion carries, and ordinance number 16-2024 is approved and adopted. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 17-2024, surplus sale, and this is the first reading. Mr. Gilbert.
Ordinance number 17-2024, the City Council of the City of Berea, Kentucky does hereby ordain as follows. Section 1, the property set out on the attached list marked Exhibit A, acquired for use by the city, is hereby declared to be surplus because it is no longer suitable for use by the city, so that it is in the public interest to dispose of such equipment, and the mayor or his designee is authorized to dispose of said surplus by sale according to law after due advertisement. Section 2, all ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall be effective upon its publication.
This is the first reading with the second reading scheduled at our next meeting on August the 20th. Per past practice, I'll open the floor up for any discussion or comments on the first reading. Seeing none, we'll move forward. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 18-2024, ad valorem tax, and this is the first reading. Mr. Gilbert.
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Berea, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, that the annual ad valorem tax for city purposes and the general fund of said city in the sum of 0.9 cents upon each $100 of the assessed value of all real property within the City of Berea, Kentucky, not otherwise exempt, is hereby levied and imposed upon the owners of said property, persons, or assessed therefore for the calendar year 2024. Section 2, that pursuant to Kentucky law, an annual franchise tax levy for city purposes and the general fund of said city in the amount equal to 0.025% of the deposits of all financial institutions located within the jurisdiction of the city is hereby levied and imposed on each financial institution. The remaining portions of Section 2 through 7 are continuing provisions to provide for the manner in which the taxes are collected. Section 8, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall be published according to law.
Mr. Gilbert, just for technical correction and for the record, on the rate, it would be 8.9 cents, is that correct?
That's correct.
8.9 cents per hundred, for the record. And again, this is the first reading with the second reading scheduled for our next meeting, but per past practice, I'll open the floor for any comments or discussion. Mr. Cottle?
Do you want an overview or?
I'm sorry?
Jerry asked I do a small overview. I
Sure.
think it's important that,
The floor is yours. I think that's important. I will note that this was subject to a work session, but to your point, it would be good to do an overview. Finance Chair, Steve Cottle.
so the ad valorem tax is an annual tax vote that we have to take. It's one of the few things that are designated as essentially constitutional things that we have to do by state law. And doing it annually, it is laid out that our finance director of the city would come up with a compensating rate. The compensating rate is the percentage of tax that would give us basically the same amount of revenue as the previous year. I don't want to say exactly the same because it's not going to be exactly the same, and it probably never will. Because of that compensating rate, we can then take at a maximum of 4% increase from the compensating rate, which in this year's case is actually a 6% decrease in the actual rate, or 6 cents per $100, 0.06 cents of the per 100, which we have been fortunate over the last few years that the city has been growing at such a rate that has allowed us to continually do the prudent thing with our compensating rate and increases, and also reduce the tax rate that our citizens are paying, and that is not just based on the property that we had last year versus this year. That's also because we have seen a significant, very significant increase in new properties within the city. And so we've all seen the boom that is the growth that we've had in this county, and particularly in this city, and that is a product of what allows us to be able to do that. So that's a general overview of ad valorem, and I thank my fellow council members for approving the 0.089, and we're in a great position to be able to do that without having to increase the rate that our ratepayers are paying. Taxpayers are paying, not ratepayers, that's utilities.
Thank you, Steve, and I do want to acknowledge the work session was led by our finance director, who walks us through this each year. So between the two of you, I think it's always a really good explanation on how that works. Thank you, Steve. Jerry?
I want to add one thing. The city has no control over what the value of the properties is. The state mandates every year or every 5 years that you've got to go, the tax evaluator's got to go and reappraise your properties. They do it in sectors of the city. And so we have no control over what the property assessor sets on the value of it. And this time we was able to lower the rate. Thank the Lord. See.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other comments on the first reading of ordinance number 18-2024? Good comments. Thank you all very much. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 19-2024, tourism revisions, and this is the first reading. Mr. Gilbert.
Ordinance number 19-2024, whereas pursuant to ordinance 11-20, the City of Berea established a Department of Business and Tourism Development consisting of a director and other employees. Whereas it has become evident that the missions and responsibilities of the Department of Business and Tourism Development have become asymmetrical and out of balance, and it is deemed necessary to separate the administrative functions of tourism and business development. And whereas the City Council finds it for administrative efficiency and the enhancement of public safety, well-being, health, and the continued economic development and tourism and convention development of the city, it is necessary to separate the functions and administration of tourism and business development. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Berea, Kentucky, that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Berea be revised as follows. Section 1, that the Code of Ordinance is hereby amended to revise Section 22-800. Such section shall read as follows. A Department of Tourism Development is hereby established for the purpose of the promotion and development of tourism and conventions in the city. The Tourism Department shall consist of a director, program manager for tourism, media manager, and such other employment positions as may hereinafter be specified in the budget of the City of Berea, or by other appropriate actions of the mayor or city council. 2, the purposes of the Department of Tourism shall include the promotion, development, preservation, and enhancement of the economic and physical environment and general economic resources of the City of Berea's business, commercial, recreational, and tourism and convention sectors. Such duties should include the creation of new or coordination of existing programs, activities, and opportunities to promote economic growth in the city through tourism and conventions. The department shall annually prepare and transmit to the mayor and city council a report of its activities, an annual budget report, and a report of its recommendations for improving such economic conditions through tourism, including analysis of budget impacts and said recommendations. 3, the director of the Department of Tourism shall oversee and supervise the program managers and other positions which may be created in the budget or other appropriate actions of the mayor or city council. 4, the director of the Department of Tourism, the administrative functions of the director, and employees supervised by the director shall be funded by the budget of the Tourist and Convention Commission. These allocations will be made in the city's annual budget. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are repealed. This ordinance shall be published according to law.
Again, this is the first reading with the second reading scheduled for August 20th, 2024. Per past practice, I'll open the floor for any comments or questions. Seeing none, we'll move forward to department head reports, and the featured department head today is Priscilla Bloom, director of our Parks Department. Priscilla, welcome. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Administrator. My goodness, how time flies when you're having fun. Last time I stood up here, we were talking about the pool opening, gearing up for the summer, and now what feels like 10 minutes later, pool season is coming to an end and summer's winding down. The pool does in fact close on Sunday. Our attendance is up for this year. 2023, we had 16,800, and we are now, after today, at 18,500. Some highlights of this season. First and foremost, a little groundbreaking news. For the first time ever, the Berea Pool began accepting credit cards in July. I want to thank our terrific IT department, better known as Daniel and Tommy, for implementing the internet capabilities we needed. And also a big thank you to Susan for training and making it a smooth transition as far as on the finance side. We did have a lot of great free programming for the community this summer. Our weekly Aqua Zumba classes had an average attendance of 84 people. We had 2 dive-in movies, 6 family swims, and our back-to-school bash was held on the 26th. We also had 6 weeks of swim lessons, and the Berea Dolphins had 4 successful home meets, and I'd like to congratulate them. They placed 3rd in their conference this year, so that's good. Let's see. To close things out at the pool, on Monday we have our 6th annual Pooch Palooza, which is a free dog swim. And the best part about it is we collect non-monetary items for the Madison County Animal Shelter. So we ask people to bring things like dog or cat food, treats and toys, things like that. And the shelter is always really grateful to receive those items. Other upcoming programs in August. On the 19th, we have our Special Olympics of Kentucky Family Game Night, and we work with Richmond Parks on that one. The 30th, we have a murder mystery. And on the 31st, we're partnering with local artist Heather Dent for a fairy workshop. As always, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we got going on at the park. August also means fall sports. Berea community had their first soccer game last night. MUSA began practice this week, and youth football started its season on Saturday. And then Berea football has their first home game in just a couple of weeks. And then the youth league softball baseball season won't start until next month. Our weekend tournament schedule is completely filled up, and our last one for the year will be on October 26th. Maintenance crew's really busy as always, keeping the athletic fields in good shape for the youth leagues and Berea community. And then when the pool closes, they'll have a punch list of things to do. And then we will get started on the parks to prepare for the Spoonbread Festival, which will be here before you know it. So that's all I got. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Jerry?
Yes, sir.
On our pool, have you got any idea when we're gonna start renovation of it?
Well, we are waiting to hear back from Brandstetter. Should be any day now. Rose, if you've heard something since we've met, then please jump in.
It is in my administration report, so I'll just tell you. I called Charlie, and I haven't been able to tell Priscilla yet because I called her just before we got here to get an update, and he is saying by the end of next week he'll have an RFP out. So
Great.
that's good news.
So you're gonna touch base on it a little bit in your report then?
Well, that was what I was gonna say in my report.
I got another question.
Okay. Yeah.
What, do we feel like we'll have it open by next spring to use?
Yes.
That's my question. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna get it rebuilt and redone and have it ready to go when the spring comes?
Yes, sir. That's why we're trying to get this
Oh,
RFP out
okay.
right now.
All right, that's all I had, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ronnie?
Priscilla,
Yes.
I've been getting questions about the scoreboards on the fields. I think the youth league was the five persons to handle the scoreboards, not us.
The current scoreboards we have were donated by Pepsi when we signed our contract with them many moons ago. And we just renewed the contract. They were not The scoreboards are need replaced. Pepsi declined, so, and those parts are obsolete now. So, that's a good question. I think there's some funding out there. I'm gonna work with the youth league and see what we can come up with, cause we work on those things constantly. They're really a maintenance headache. So I've seen some grant funding, I think, that we might be able to work with the youth league and see what we can do there.
Well, I would hope we would get some little bigger ones than we got down there because
Probably.
on old people, it's hard to see them.
Those have got to be almost 20 years old, and they've come leaps and bounds since then. So hopefully we can. But they're not cheap. I'll tell you that. Nothing.
But seriously, seriously, you can't ever tell. Coca-Cola might fix them. I mean, put new ones in. You never know what he asked.
No, you're right.
Really.
You're right.
You know, with me,
But we might need to turn Jerry loose on that.
special scoreboard.
She didn't hear you.
That's right. Let me come back to Ronnie. Ronnie, you have the floor.
Well, it'd be nice if Berea College had a scoreboard down there. Berea Youth League.
Other questions or comments for our Parks Director? Seeing none, Priscilla, thank you for your report. Thanks for all that you and your team do. Any other department heads would like to address the council? I'll recognize Codes and Planning Administrator Amanda Haney. Amanda, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, City Administrator, Council. I just want to express my appreciation for the adoption of the Land Management and Development Ordinance. I was really happy to see this year is many of your faces at those really early on meetings with our Planning Commission, and how many of you followed this very lengthy approval process from beginning to end. So these are, very important decisions. I appreciate you all taking those into consideration, and I think that we have come up with a very comprehensive and current set of regulations. So just wanted to express my appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
No
Now,
questions.
if you speak, you're on the hook here. Jerry, go right ahead.
Well, I'm gonna say something good. I just want to thank you for all the work you put in on it.
Thank you.
I really do.
Thank you.
And I'll second that for you. You did a lot of the heavy lifting on it. You organized it in a format that we could all understand with the cheat notes on what had changed and what the big changes were, but also for your staff and the Planning Commission members. I think kudos to all of them. A whole lot went into this effort, and it's something that we were overdue to get done, and you did a great job. So compliments to all involved, including the Planning Commission. Thank you, Amanda. Any other department heads would like to address the council? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. Public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the city administrator's report. I'll recognize City Administrator Rose Beverly, who has all kinds of good news for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good to see you tonight, council members. So the first thing that I just want to make everyone aware of, state contract price for vehicles for cities is no longer valid. So we can't use that state contracting price list anymore for cities. It's still good for the state, but there's some changes made and it doesn't work for us anymore. So you will be seeing us put out RFPs for vehicles, and that we have done recently for police vehicles. And we got 4 vehicles from Don Franklin Auto. Of course, the RFP was put out. This was the bid we got back that we decided to take from Don Franklin Auto for a total of $172,707. We got 4 Durangos. So just letting you know, you'll be hearing this more often now, because unless there's some changes made, it just won't work for cities anymore. So I had on there the RFP for the pool project, and like I said, that should be going out by the end of next week, is what he said. They're just working on some final details. It's looking good. And lastly, I think it is important to let you know that we did receive 3 bids for the waste collections RFP. I know that's kind of been a hot topic, and I do not have those tabulated yet. I have not analyzed them because we just got them, and you know that it's pretty thick. There's a lot of numbers. So I will be working to put a report together for you. Mayor and I talked about it today. We're thinking maybe a work session so that we can present the information to the council. So we'll be working on that. I'll hopefully get that put together by the end of this week and get something scheduled. And that is all that I have today. I can take any questions from you.
Thank you, Rose, and in fairness, it was late yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Rose had the bid opening, so she really hasn't had time to go through and do the analysis on that yet, but she will. Questions for Rose? Jerry?
I just want to add one thing. You know where you say there's no state contract anymore on police cars? Don Franklin specializes in selling police cars, and he's probably, I'm not doing a commercial for Don Franklin now, don't take that, but he's got good prices, and that's what they do. And they've got them in stock and ready to deliver, and it's good.
And I can't speak for the police department, but I believe we're getting them at or below the state prices. We just can't use that as in place of an RFP anymore. So yes, they're.
Katie?
So, like many or maybe all police cars I've heard of in the past, then we send them somewhere else to be outfitted. Is that still going to be
That
the
is
case?
still going to be the case.
And then is that open for an RFP as well, or do we work with the same provider for that kind of thing?
So I think if we went over 40,000 in 1 year, but I don't believe we will be. But we will be looking at that because we have to always take that into consideration.
Other questions for the city administrator, Ronnie?
Yeah, yes, Ronnie asked if they would come with all the equipment on it, and they do have to be upfitted still. So they will be sent off to get upfitted.
But they are a police version vehicle now.
Correct.
They've got a lot of piece of equipment on them from the start.
They're specialized.
Yeah.
The center consoles aren't there. I'm learning a lot now about it, just trying to make sure that I understand it all. But yes.
Ronnie?
No, because they don't, we just get the bid, this from Don Franklin Auto was the RFP just to purchase the vehicles, and then we'll send them out to get upfitted with a different organization. And in fact, I was talking to Aaron about it, and he's been shopping around really well with that, trying to find better deals and working that out. So he's gonna save us some money there. So we believe we will come in under what we had budgeted. Oh, no, do you want to come up here?
Without objection, I will recognize the Assistant Police Chief, Aaron Boykin. Aaron, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to answer the question, there is a business in that area, but to my knowledge, it's not owned or operated by Don Franklin. We've been to that facility in the past. I do think it's important to note that the company we have been using, for the most part for upfitting, L&W, they do hold many state contracts. So a lot of their items are state contract pricing. So anything from Wheelan, Satina, they hold the state contract for those items.
But the people down at Somerset's in Science Hill, they've got a shop there where they do a lot of the upgrades.
They do.
And so you all have priced them against L&W in Lawrenceburg?
Not if it's on state contract, because there's not a whole lot of point to doing that, because I know it'll still be state contract pricing.
And so that's still in effect then, the state contract pricing on the upgrades?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Aaron.
Impacts whether we have to do the RFP or not. And so if the upfitting with one place is less than 40,000, we do not have to do an RFP for that part of it.
Usually an upgrade is, I guess it's got up to what, 10 or 12,000 now? That's about all it is, isn't
I
it?
remember it was 7. Has it gone up?
But I just don't want people to think it's 40,000, okay? I'm talking about per car now, about, it may be.
Please don't hold me to these specific numbers, but I believe the previous year's upfitting cost, now this is for a patrol vehicle with all the graphics packages, every piece of equipment that goes in it that doesn't come from the factory, was right around $18,000 for upfitting. I believe you're probably gonna look at some price increases this year We're still in the process of trying to quote those things out. It could be up to 20,000 this year per vehicle.
And if it's over 40 cumulatively, then we have to put out an RFP.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. All right,
Okay.
other questions for the city administrator?
Unless there's somehow we can get under their price. Also, we could use Sourcewell. So there's other ways that we can do buying together. And so I want to make it clear that this is for all vehicles now. So there were other vehicles you could buy through the state contract that you won't. So it's not just police vehicles. You'll see if we buy a vehicle now, if it's going to be over 40,000, we'll put out an RFP. And what he's probably talking about, state contract price, it may work for other things. And also there's other cooperative buying that we can use that will not require us to put out an RFP. So we'll just be watching and making sure that we're meeting all those requirements.
I've got a question.
Jerry?
You're talking about vehicles. Looks like to me, I know you can go, if you go over 40, you gotta do a RFP, but looks like on automobiles, everybody might want a competitive bid them. I mean, instead of just, find out even if it's 35,000, the vehicle, would you wanna advertise it?
You could always put out an RFP. You could put out an RFP for any purchase. So it wouldn't be a terrible idea, that's for sure, I think.
An automobile's a pretty expensive purchase, and they would be a variation, and it, even though we can spend up to 40, but that's something we ought to think about, okay?
Right, and we do look at those things, we shop around. So even if, let's say that it's under 40, we still have to get 3 quotes. So it's kind of similar like that anyway. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Rose? Seeing none, thank you, Rose. Good
Thank you very
report.
much.
Appreciate your work on those, and got a lot of work ahead of you on analyzing those 3 bids, so good luck. The next item on the agenda is mayor's comments, and my comments will be just for 2 upcoming festivals. First of all, the 15th Berea Celtic Fest and Gathering begins on Thursday, August the 15th. It'll run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's August 15th through the 18th. And there'll be activities at Honeysuckle Lounge, at Churchill's, Kentucky Artisan Center, Tailless Dog, Russell Acton Folk Center, the garden sessions at Boone Tavern, Cowan Chapel next to Union Church, and those are all the different venues in Union Church itself. So the website on it's really long, so the best thing to do is run a search on Berea Celtic Fest, and that will take you to the site to give you a list of all the activities. Fantastic music, and I would encourage you to pick a few of those sessions and try to get out and support the Celtic Fest. The second is an announcement about the Spoonbread Festival. We've heard about it already. As you know, the Spoonbread Festival is the Chamber of Commerce, one of their signature events, and it's always the 3rd weekend in September, which this year is September 20th through 22nd, 2024. September 20 through 22, 2024. So please invite your family, your friends, and your out-of-town guests. Invite them to come to Berea and celebrate with us in the Chamber of Commerce for the Spoonbread Festival. That concludes my comments, and I'll next move to council comments and begin with Ron Terrell. Ronnie. Thank you, sir. Cora Jane Wilson.
I appreciate everybody being here, and Dr. Nixon, thank you for your comments. I do appreciate those, and I just want to make one comment. I hope that we can practice transparency around here more. Just something for all of you to think about. We need to be transparent when we're doing anything and not blindside, and it's just a recommendation for the voters, for the citizens. We need to be transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Cora Jane. Next we'll move to Jerry Little. Jerry.
I'm gonna thank Dr. Nixon for your report. I really thought it was good, and I liked your ideas. And I'm gonna say one more thing to everybody. If we all just work together and communicate with each other on all sides, there's not much that we can't get worked out. Communication is a secret to it with everybody, whether you disagree or don't agree, or agree. If you can sit down and everybody get up, voice, things most of the time work out for the best. That's all I gotta say. Thank everybody for coming.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, we'll move to Katie Starsman. Katie,
No comment, thanks.
thank you. And for the last word, Jim Davis.
Dr. Nixon, thank you for being here and your ideas. It was a good report. Priscilla, thank you. Get the swimming pool done this winter and get the scoreboards fixed. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? By Cora Jane Wilson with a second by Jerry Little. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, please say no. The meeting is adjourned.